Look, we got all kinds of work to do today. We got firewalls, we got trans tunnels, we've got inner structures, we've got fender wells, we got all kinds of sheet metal work to do today because, well, I need to keep progressing on this, and well, we got to figure out how to do brakes, we got to figure out gas pedals, and we can't do any of that stuff until we get all the firewalls done, all the inner structures done, all that good stuff. So we got to get at it. I did forget to tell you guys, welcome back to the channel, and that I do appreciate it, each and every one of you. So thanks for coming back. Okay, so previous video, if you haven't seen that previous video, go back and look at it because it'll catch you up to speed, okay? We got the valve covers in, all that kind of good stuff. We got the headers. If you remember, we were having header clearance problems, which we are still a little bit here, so that's why we're doing all this stuff today. I went ahead and just took this one out. I was talking in the last video that I was just going to kind of beat this around, kind of notch out. Nope, not doing that anymore. We're replacing all of it, okay? We're taking it all out. We're going to re-engineer it. I'm not an engineer, but we're going to try to make your mo better, okay? So the first thing I'm going to start getting at is chopping out all of this stuff, and this guy's kind of starting fresh, getting some cardboard. Okay, that's not cardboard, that's poster. Some poster board as templates, and then just start building as we go. Take out, rebuild, and hopefully everything kind of jives. All right, firewall has been removed, and now we've got well, blank canvas, and that's my problem because blank canvases mean I got a blank mind too. Because usually I like to try to follow the contours of what's kind of going on. So I guess I'm going to stare at this for the next 37 minutes, try to figure out, what do I do from here? Okay, R2 Crafts has began something like that. Anyway, so I've started making a firewall out of poster board. There you go. And here's kind of the idea, okay? I want this arch here as close to the motor as I can, just to kind of give it, I don't know, something cool. I want it like that. I'm going to flange across the bottom here because I want that inner transmission hump mount, or not mount, but the inner pan here to be able to come out in case I ever have to do some work in there. I have access to the back, and I don't want this so close to the motor in case I ever have to pull the motor out. So I'm going to, my plan is anyways, this is all hypotheticals, okay? This isn't like I'm doing a solid like that because it's all trial and error right now. So I'm thinking right here where this line goes all the way around it, if I do a break in that should push this panel back a little bit and kind of give it a little bit of clearance of the intake like that. Okay. So next step is to get that off of the firewall. Well, sort of. It's not really a firewall yet. But get that off of the milk truck and onto a piece of metal. Okay. Panel is all cut out. That Makita makes easy work of any type of cutting sheet metal. All right, so it is design time, and I still want to stick with kind of the diamond stitch pattern we got going on back here, and like the 3-inch, 2.5-inch rib kind of going on there, and well, up in there, definitely doing dimple dyes. Okay, I would dimple dye everything, every day, every square inch if I could, if it didn't look like Swiss cheese and it didn't look like boo boo. Anyways, so. Plan now is to try to figure out a pattern going on here. Try to think ahead a little bit, kind of where wires should be coming to the firewall or under the firewall, whatever. I'm going to be flanging right here. It's going to kick out towards me for the inner fenders to kind of lock onto, and then this hump right there, or arch, that's going to be kicked in for the trans tunnel to kind of bite onto or have something to lip onto as well. So let's figure out a pattern, get it all drawn up on there, get it rolled into the panel, and well, get her welded in so we don't have a big gaping hole over there. All right, finally all done with all the lines and whatever patterns I'm gonna do. Here we go. We're gonna have kind of like we were talking, the holes here. They're not gonna actually be holes, all right? So if you were a little bit confused a minute ago when I said speed holes, yes, I'm using the dimple dies to do it. I've got to drill holes into it. However, I'm gonna take the back plating here, basically what we cut out here, and weld it to the bottom half of that, or the back side of that, so it's solid. I just want that dimpled look inside of there. Okay, we're going horizontal on this one. Horizontal diamond pattern on the top here, unlike the back, which is like vertical. So I want to kind of copy what's kind of going on here on the grill. So when you open the hood up, you kind of see the grill, and then that horizontal diamond stitch pattern-ish. All right, we got the panel all bead rolled up and kind of all the patterns put into it. Not going to go into a bunch of the bead rolling. If you want to see what I'm doing with the bead rolling and on other panels, go back to the previous videos. You'll see lots of bead rolling and lots of different panels. Here's like the pattern we have. We've got the horizontal diamond stitch that kind of matches the front of that grill. Still deciding if I want to do those bead holes or those holes. I'm not sure yet. We added just a 1/2 inch bead kind of tapering down here and then mimicked on the other side. Now, I've been putting flanges in this part. This is where the inner fender is, and then this is where another panel is going to come out. Now what I've got to try to do, this is where the transmission tunnel is going to start going back. So I've got basically a sharp knife on the top and a poly rubber bushing on the bottom. And just for quick goes, that goes in here. We pull up on the panel and we start getting at least like a score line or a cut line into the shape that I want to do it. And once we're kind of get back on my table, I've got some sheet metal pliers. That's going to kind of get my corners up nice and tight, nice and square, kind of gives it a good seam. Same thing, I do it here on these corners. And I use a railroad tie. The railroad tie is your friend. Okay, it's got all kinds of different shapes, contours. You got rounded here where the train sits on the track here, nice and flat, sharp corners here, and it's solid. It's nice and solid. So what I'm doing now is basically putting on this sharp end here and tapping around, following that score line I am, and rolling it over to basically a 90 so I can get the transmission tunnel kind of a place to bite onto and make that also removable. So like I said earlier in the video, so I can get to the transmission in case I have problems. Because if you know me about anything, or if you know anything about me and transmissions, that they don't get along in builds like this. So thinking ahead, making a removable transmission tunnel. That's where we're at right now. Now, I am going slow. I'm going in basically inch increments, getting it to fold just a little bit, then working my way over. If you hammer it all down all in one shot, you're pretty much going to tear it, or it's going to stretch where you don't want it to stretch. So take your time, just kind of keep going around this railroad tie until she starts flattening out. Okay, there you go. There's my little, that's the tool I use to kind of get my edges to kind of roll back and flange on there. Now, if you look, if you ever had to make, like, this is how I make my patch panels for any type of fender as well. I mean, that's basically, if you look at it this way, that way, that's a fender. And I use this railroad tie all the time to do that kind of stuff. It gives it a nice crisp line and it keeps everything nice and flat. Now, another joy of the old railroad tie, like if you look in here, this kind of rolled up a little bit. So I've got dollies, I got hand dollies. And now if you don't have a railroad tie, you can use a hand dolly for every bit of this. just take a typical dolly, put it behind there, and you can start rolling or forming all that stuff down. Now, this is too, now where it kind of creased up, this is too wide for that, okay? Not enough to kind of get right up in that little crease here. So the corner of this is nice, like again, nice and sharp, and I was able to put this under the panel right inside of there and kind of get the little bit of warpage out of there. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. This is actually crowning a little bit, so I should be able to just kind of release these corners and it kind of lay back flat. Anyways, there you go. There is the firewall that, you know, I was kind of envisioning. I don't have, like I said, the speed holes in here yet. I'm not sure what I want to do with it. The more I'm looking at it, I'm not sure if I want to put holes and then backplate them, or I don't know. I'm just going to kind of put it on the truck and kind of see what it looks like, and then we'll kind of keep going. All right, so before we kind of check it on the truck, I got a couple of things tapped out. I got the crown kind of, you can still see it crowning just a little bit, and I've got it hammered and dollied out as much as I can. So I think what needs to happen, let me set this down. There's so much metal right here that's kind of just pulled everything together, so it's shrunk up. I want to stretch that corner right there just a little bit and see if I can't get that thing to whoop, pop back up and kind of start relaxing back to where, you know, it needs to be. So I'm going to put y'all right down the panel. You can see it kind of pushed back right there. I've got it in the stretcher. I'm going to give it a couple little tugs, and we're going to see if we can't get that bad boy to come around. There it goes. All right, look at there. Look, crown is gone. Nice and flat all the way around. This side had a little bit up. It's down too. And now I'm happy with it. Now let's see if we can, you know, mock it up on the truck now. All right, I'm gonna put top in, right side, and then the left side. Oh boy, look at that. We got ourselves a firewall. Shoo. Look at the fitment there, boys and girls. Okay, we have a little high spot. Don't worry, I can get that down. There you go, there's the idea. Once again, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, if I'm gonna do those holes there or not, but for now, I can come back and get all those in there later. But the plan is, I think I'm gonna keep this fender. So all this is gonna get texture paint, which is you know, brought to you by Sweet Patina, right? If you want that Sweet Patina product, get over there, www.sweetpatina.com. There's a promo code. I got a promo code. Okay, it's VTC21. That'll get you a discount. But we're gonna be putting this in-one textured product here, all on the inside. We're gonna color match it to the engine, and that's gonna be covering all that. So a lot of those hammer strikes, all this stuff, I can planish them out, but I don't have to get every single piece out of there because, well, it's gonna have a texture on it. Okay, anyways, so I was thinking about making a panel here, but I kind of like how that is, but I'm definitely gonna be putting a panel across here, and then it's gonna come and kind of swoop around the front and just show the top half of the engine. So I haven't decided if I'm gonna do some inner fender wells yet. I kind of like those, maybe, but we'll see about when I get these plates built. And in this front, if that smooth blends in with what's going on back here. But for now, we got a firewall. That's probably all we're gonna do today is a firewall. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting it mocked up, getting it in its final resting place, and then we're gonna start welding it in. All right, so I'm gonna show you real quick kind of what I do to kind of get my firewalls in here nice and smoothed out and nice and strong. I start off with a couple Clecos. I get some here and here. I don't like using a whole bunch of Clecos because, well, that's more holes to fill, that's more heat, and that's more warpage, that's more work. So I just kind of, because it's a big panel, I will use I'll only use a couple of those. All right, so I kind of go in here, and if you look, it's just overlapped on this firewall. And I rough cut the firewall opening, which it doesn't matter. I've got it just overlapped, okay? So then I just go around and I'll tack it over, overlap the tacks, and then, I don't know, put one every 6, 7 inches, whatever you want to do, just kind of keep everything nice and tight inside of there. Then once once the panel's kind of in there, I will come around here. I'm gonna take my grinder, take the grinder, and I'll start cutting around. Now, as you're cutting this line, the line of your piece of sheet metal you just fabbed up, that piece of metal behind there is going inside the truck and gonna fall away. Now, I don't just cut it this way, okay? Depending on how thick your blade is, that's how thick that line's going to be. And typically what's happening is you're shaving off a little bit of the top and you're making a big cut here. So that means it's going to be a bigger gap than I like having. So what I do is I take the grinder and I just run it at an angle. So just run it probably like 45 or so, 47 degrees, 38 degrees, I don't know. But just kind of angled down to where you're kind of splicing in. You're still taking a little bit of the top off, but once those panels once that gets cut and they come together, that gap is nice and tight, like that. So there, right there, nothing is grabbing on my finger. And then I run 4 tacks in a line, take and push your metal together. Can you see it? It's pushing together. Hold it together, tack it, whatever procedure, whatever way you want to do it. And then once you get all those kind of 4 tacks and it kind of work about a foot section, I'll come back and I'll start grinding out my welds and smoothing out my panel as I go, because I don't want to do that all in one shot. Once again, that's more heat than I like to have, more warpers than I like to have, more work than I like to have. So there you go. There's a quick little. All right, I brought that light up just a little bit because as I get close to it, you can see the lines in this LED light, how they're all wavy and funky. That's gonna kind of give me a close reading as I start sanding this out. As them lines start to straighten up, well, then that means my metal's somewhat smooth. Now, I'm not gonna have to get it completely dialed in because like I said, we're gonna be putting some texture paint over this, but I wanna get it close, get all the high spots and get all the waves out of it as much as I can. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and finish wiring this up, finish welding the last 4 feet or 5 feet or so of this, so we can go ahead and keep moving on to other panels. But real quick, there's what I was talking kind of about the light. If you kind of sit back, you can use the light, and let's see if I can there you go, right there. See how there's a low spot, low spot, low spot? Well, if I were to make this 100%, I'd get behind the firewall and kind of tap those out, smooth them out, dolly them out, whatever I gotta do. But right now, I'll probably fine tune it a little bit more, but that's it, okay? Like I said, it's going to be texture painted, so you ain't going to see much of that. All right, well, that's it. That's going to be a wrap for today's video. I'm not going to go any further into more panel making or anything like that. We're going to be putting some panels on these inner fenders here, inner fenders there, and I'll kind of wrap it around here. Let's just end it here because that's a lot more panels. It's the same thing over and over again. The inside, we've got a lot of work to do. We need to get basically kick panels in. We got to get transmission tunnels in. We've got to get another firewall here. We're going to panel all the sides there, get the floor done. And all those panels are important because, well, those are going to set my pedal heights. That's going to set my gas pedal locations. That's going to set my seats. It's going to set everything. Okay, so got to kind of bounce and play with both of those at the same time to, as I'm designing this stuff, I got to kind of know what I'm going to be putting the pedals and all this other. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is it's a lot of work. Okay, a lot of work, and it's kind of the same thing as what we're doing over here. It's just a different area. So thanks a lot, guys, for sticking around. Last video, I asked you guys, for your support, and man, y'all came through like that. I was trying to get to 15,000, and within like, I think it was a day and a half of dropping the last video, bam, 15,000 and kept going. So we're still on goal on the, I still have a goal by the end of the year to hitting 20,000. So if you guys like this content, hit the subscribe button. If you are subscribed, share it out. Share it out to everybody you got, okay? Share it out, hit that like button, throw a comment out there. Yep, we got some big things coming up. Oh yeah, did I mention? We're taking this thing to SEMA. We'll see you next time.